The ethics policy, it's just like many other things in county government, is disgraceful. Just recently, in the Board of Revisions, they had some fellow who's been working there, paid $61,000 a year, working 2 hours a day and having another job. And he resigned, and allegedly they're going to investigate him. The sheriff department's going to investigate him. Where I come from, that's stealing. He's stealing from the company. He's stealing from us taxpayers. And I believe somewhere there is an ethics policy written, but the fact is it's fragmented and nothing's enforced. I think what's going to happen is the new council, and this is all brand new, is going to be the legislative branch of our county government. I think the first thing, and one of the things that's going to be created is going to be a human resource commission, which is going to have 3 members in it, and I think they're going to oversee quite a few things. And I think one of the first things that the council should do is demand that a county-wide ethics policy talking about being responsible. You're being paid, you're expected to be there, and if not, you're terminated. And all the new directors who are replacing these elected officials, these new directors have to be told all about this. This has got to be mandated, and the ethics, which we expect in our own personal life, have to be held up and demanded from our county government. What's going on recently, it's just disgraceful. This morning's paper is the same stuff. What's going on? So again, it's going to be an exciting position for the new county council to develop and create new rules across the board. Thank you very much.
Well, folks, we've witnessed incompetence, moral failings, ethical violations, and even criminal acts. This cannot stand. In the business world, working for Mr. Steinberg, he used to say, stealing time is the same as stealing money. I believe that is the case here, so that should be included. You've got to perform your job if you're given a job in the county and have some minimal standards. We've got right now, we're witnessing a mutual protection society, and this has got deep roots in the county. And by God, this is going to have to be ripped out by the roots. We need good, strong, ethical standards. They need to have the force of law and teeth and consequences. Because I want to see some of these characters, if you don't know you're not supposed to take a flat screen TV from a supplier, then you belong having, as they say in some of the stores, you need a ride in a police car. This is outrageous, and it will not stand if I'm in the council. Thank you.
Well, I don't think we're witnessing anything unusual in any field. You can take it to the real estate business, you can take it to the banking business that put these toxic loans out there. I think we need a code of conduct, and it has to be enforced. Unfortunately, the patronage system for the last 200 years has grown, and it's not going to change even with the county council. You're going to see it. Right now, they're paying $45,000 for our positions for part-time. What a great job. I'd like to reduce that by $25,000, make it $20,000. They want to add to it. A suggestion is to give $10,000 per candidate if you sign some kind of a pledge, or $50,000 if you're running for the county executive, to keep them honest. Where are we going with all this? Paul Harvey, who once said, self-government will not work without self-discipline. And it's a moral issue, and I think it's something that's grown. And if you can, for every bad egg we've seen, there's been some good ones too. Jim Rakakis was hollering and screaming about the meltdown long before nobody was paying attention to it. It's one of the best served public servants we've had. I don't know that this new county council change is going to do anything but generate more costs. $600,000 just for the council before we start doing everything else that the county's been doing before. Who's going to oversee it? That's something the executive and everybody else is going to have to work for. But there's a moral fabric about this. Candidates have to be in it because they're passionate about government the way our forefathers talked about it. Not as jobs, not as careers. I am retired. This is not a job. I would do it for nothing. I don't need the money. I would love to give it all back to you. Thank you.
Being a county prosecutor for 25 years, I've seen this firsthand. I prosecuted some of these cases, and not just the big ones involving public person number 1 and 2, but police officers in the line of duty. Also, a lot of people don't even realize the corruption that is taking place in CMHA, or ordering lawnmowers and weed whackers and things for the different buildings and having them sold right off the back of the delivery trucks. And I've seen that firsthand. We need more than just having people pledge to be honest. We need to police them a lot closer than we have. And this extends on right up to public enemy number 1 and 2. I believe it's got to start somewhere. And I think we need a committee to oversee all these different divisions, because there's so much that one hand doesn't know what the other hand's doing in the county. It's unbelievable. I guess signing a pledge to be honorable is a good first step, but it's not going to get the job done by itself. It's going to take people getting involved, policing these entities, and demanding to be held accountable. Thank you.
Restore integrity and accountability back to the Cuyahoga County residents. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
You want to start over?
Thank you. To restore accountability back to our county government, your new county council person needs to do a few things when they get there. The first is, of course, adopting the Code of Ethics, which is required by the new charter that we voted for when we passed Issue 6. The next thing that I would propose is for the county council to hold hearings for all of the people who are nominated to be directors and managers, to make sure that they are indeed qualified for these positions, and to send a message to the employees of the county government that the county council will be overseeing what the executive is doing on behalf of our residents. The other thing that I would require is that the county executive send quarterly updates or financial spreadsheets to the county council to make sure, again, that the budget is being handled in the appropriate way. And finally, one way to increase transparency is through the use of technology. Having that right at your fingertips, you as a resident being able to go on a website and not only looking at what the county council's agenda is for that day, but all of the contracts that have recently been passed. Those are things that are easy to do if you have the right people in there who are pushing for those kind of changes. Thank you.
I got the switch on? Okay. The gentleman that Mr. Mattia referred to at the Board of Revision is actually Tom Bush, an Olmsted Township trustee. So if this gig doesn't work out, rest assured I'll run against him when his cycle comes up. And he was basically given the position for no other reason that he served on the Board of Trustees with Commissioner Hagan for a brief while. And it just goes to show we need change as far as the hiring policies in our county. I think one way that this can be done is by hiring contractors. Myself, I'm a county contractor. I work for the Board of Developmental Disabilities, and I wouldn't have a job if the county didn't need contractors working at fair market value instead of an inflated county salary. Part two of all this, I believe, would be to have more scrutiny through the public eyes, through the press. In my previous career, I was a newspaper reporter, and I come in contact with many council members and government members who consistently flout our state's sunshine laws as regarding public discretion. I would support Prosecutor Mason's idea to make public the details of what goes on in executive sessions. I know for the purposes of meetings that some things must be kept private at the time being, but afterwards I believe that those things should be reported, and that will take away from the nature of keeping things secretive. Thank you.
The 10 of us are all before you this evening thanks to your efforts last November when Issue 6 was overwhelmingly passed through every community in Cuyahoga County. That's really an amazing statistic because it was Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Libertarians, whatever, that said enough. And they passed it because they said there are no checks and balances. And when you don't have checks and balances, you have corruption. I've been married going on 31 years, and my wife and I have checks and balances. She keeps me maybe a little more in line than I keep her. But that's what we need in county government. The new county exec is going to be the super mayor of the county, going to set policy, full-time position. The county council is going to pass the budget, introduce legislation, as long as you always have at least 6 votes on council to do that. But where the corruption starts is in the hiring practices. I mentioned before we have way too many employees. We also have multiple employment offices in the county right now. It's called the Friends and Family Employment Agency, and it's prevalent even in today's newspaper. We have to eliminate that, and it's very easy. One centralized hiring office. Sounds simple, doesn't it? It can be done. And by doing that and instituting hiring practices, whether it's a civil service exam or something so you're hiring the best and the brightest, right there, corruption will start to go away. Checks and balances lead to fiscal responsibility, lead to good county government, and that's what I stand for. Thank you.
I firmly believe that until you folks, everybody in our county, has begun to feel that the people who are leading our county are doing it in a way that they care more about the county than themselves, none of us are going to be happy. So that's a huge issue in my mind. Selfishness as it relates to our leadership has led to this terrible, terrible crisis that we've had. A couple of things that I've recommended in terms of openness of government. One is that for all of you in Westlake know that, and many of the communities do this, council meetings are telecast via public television. And I have recommended that council meetings be, in fact, if not streamed on the internet, that they be put on your local television so that everybody, at their convenience, because not everybody will be able to go to the meetings at all times, but they can watch them. The other thing we need to do is that while they have finally found a place for this council and the county executives to meet in the Justice Center, I think that there's enough room throughout the county that periodically, that in fact, those meetings rotate throughout the county so that people like yourselves will be able to go to these, not at the convenience of those that are sitting on the council, but for the community itself. The ethics reform, the financial reporting reforms, those are in fact going to be in effect shortly after this council gets started. We need to go into the hiring practices issue. There's going to be a human resource department. The other thing that I've said, as they have done in the Pittsburgh-Allegheny area, is when a recommendation is made for a position, that that person be vetted through at least 3 or 4 members of the council so that they can be interviewed, their resumes evaluated to determine that they are appropriate for that position. Thank you.
Okay, our next question goes to Pete Mattia. The Citizens Reform Association of Cuyahoga County did an in-depth financial analysis of the medical mart. First is, are you familiar with this analysis? Yes or no? And the rest of the question is, do you think the medical mart should be put on hold until an independent or unbiased study can be done, or what would you recommend the next step should be?